All for one and one for all. The chant of the Three Musketeers. In today's deck profile, I go over the Three Musketeers, a very popular deck for the BT6 format. Why? This deck counters a lot of different decks, and without a delicate plan, sometimes the security can be the most uphill battle to go through. And while this deck is called Three Musketeers, I only use 2 out of 3 of its members. Sorry, Magna-Kidmon. As always, I'll go through the card by card, the strengths and the weaknesses. If you enjoy this kind of content, please do leave a like or comment. And if you want to keep seeing my new uploads, subscribe and hit that notification icon as well. Let's get started. This deck runs 5 level 2s, 13 level 3s, 9 level 4s, 2 level 5s, 7 level 6s, 2 level 7s, 15 option cards, and 2 Tamers. For level 2s, I run 1 BT2 Pagumon and 4 BT3 DemiMeramon. Your eggs can be variable, but for my playtesting I felt that DemiMeramon was the MVP egg of 4 ofs, mainly because you have the capability to dig into your deck by drawing 1 card and then trashing 1 card. By doing this, you have the option to look for your Beelstarmons and trash additional 7-cost option cards and play them for free later. As for the secondary egg, I chose Pagumon, but the only downside of Pagumon is that there's no control of what you trash off the top. The upside is, whatever goes into security has a very likely chance of just getting deleted. Other substitutes you can use would be Sunomon from BT6. However, this baby Digimon is dependent on your trashing cards in order to trigger its effect. With this build, I would require either a rookie out with DemiMeramon, Labramon, or Vilemon to truly utilize its effect. And because it's too much setup to fully utilize, I decided against this baby. For level 3s, I run 3 BT2 Impmon, 2 Gazimon, 4 Labramon, and 4 BT6 Impmon. BT2 Impmon is present to give you a way to mill your deck of cards. Again, while it's random, sometimes it's very effective to fill your trash with the goodies. In addition, if DemiMeramon was the baby, you choose the order of what you want to do first, so you could mill, then draw and trash a card. I'd recommend this order, especially if you have a very flexible hand. But if your hand is just 3 Beelstars, I don't think it matters. Gazimon is one of the MVPs of the deck, being able to stop memory from being gained from Digimon effects. This will predominantly stop blue decks from utilizing Hammer Sparks and Lilithloop from using Jack Raid. As for Labramon, this Digimon is an inherent -1 on play. When you play this Digimon, you lose 1 card in your hand, hence the -1. But the on-play effect allows you to cycle a card, being very helpful again to Beelstarmon. The last level 3 of this deck is BT6 Impmon. And believe me, this is probably the second MVP of the deck. There are a lot of fun combos with this deck, and it just depends on when Digimon get deleted. Or not. With BT6 Impmon, you have the capability to recycle Beelstarmons that have been deleted or trashed. And if you have 12 or more 7-cost option cards, and or 3 Musketeers in trash, she's free. For other Digimon that I playtested with, there's Soundbirdmon, another Digimon that allows you to pitch an option card from your hand to gain 1 memory when attacking. Personally, I don't like Soundbirdmon for the resource management. When attacking, sure, your Soundbirdmon may survive if it hits a Tamer or option card, but by pitching an option card, you inherently -1 yourself at the expense for 1 memory. While this is a good way to get 7-cost option cards in the trash, I found myself running out of gas in late game, which can be a thing especially if your opponent is playing security control. The other option is Tapirmon. What I like about Tapirmon is that he can provide advantages for you in conjunction with Nailbone, whether he lives past your opponent's next turn, or when he attacks your opponent's security the turn after. However, Labramon's discard ability just feels too useful to not use. For level 4s, I run 9 level 4s in the form of 4 Deputymon, 2 Vilemon, and 3 Ginkakumon Promote. Deputymon is your MVP champion of the deck, allowing you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck and adding 1 Three Musketeers Digimon and or a 7-cost option card to your hand. The option card is completely optional, meaning if you find Beelstar and a 7-cost option card, you could just leave the 7-cost option card alone and send it to the trash. As for Vilemon, this is a blocker meant to stop Agumon and Gabumon decks from chipping at my security for bigger plays later. Ginkakumon Promote is one of my main win conditions, assisting heavily in the security control or mirror matchup when they hand me 6 memory or more. Starter Deck Devimon may be another option to run for level 4s, seeing that it is also a blocker and a cheaper evolution cost. However, I do find that Jesmon with Bao Huckmon could nuke this target, and wanted to keep blockers available at all times. As for other level 4s, Mechanorimon is another possible pick for blocking. But because it's not a nailbone target, I wanted something that could be brought back, in which case, Vilemon fits the category of purple Digimon. For level 5s, I run just 2 Rebellimon. I playtested Rebellimon several times at 4 copies, 3 copies, and dropped it to 2. The reasoning for this is because 4 felt overclumped. In addition, the blocker status is only achieved when digivolving. Rebellimon also serves as a junction between Deputymon and Gundramon in case I don't add the Gundramon off Deputymon and need to go digging by evolution. In addition, I convert my Deputymon into a retaliation blocker for 1 turn by digivolving. For level 6s, I run 3 Gundramon and 4 Beelstarmon. Gundramon is a blocker with the capability to mill 5 cards off the top and play a 7-cost option card for free. Keep in mind you'll need a purple color out if you want to play Trump Sword or Nailbone, as his effect does not circumvent the color requirement. And while I did have this guy at 4, I do think 3 is the sweet spot for Three Musketeers. Sure, you may send the top 5 cards in your trash, but holy crap have I milled myself out almost in a lot of games. For level 7s, I just run 2 Omnimon Zwart Defeat. With this build, the reason why I chose not to run Magna Kidmon is if I go into it, I can't Zwart Defeat on top. And this actually happened a few times in my preliminary test games. Omnimon Zwart Defeat's a great option in that many decks won't have the capability to get around it. So if Zwart Defeat dies, he's taking something along with it. The only counterplay that has seen some play lately is Millenniummon. With Defeat, you also set up countermeasures against Agumon Bond of Bravery and Gabumon Bond of Friendship by deleting the Taikamiya or Mat Ishida for their ability to warp up. Other options that you could run in this area are Omnimon Zwart to revive blockers. Only downside is you'll probably pass turn when playing Zwart. For my specific build that I go over, I prefer a little bit of a more tempo style for the aggressive swings. This is where the option cards come into play. For option cards, I run 3 copies of Zwart Schwarmer, 3 copies of Trump Sword, 4 copies of Fly Bullet, 2 copies of Nailbone, and 3 copies of Happy Bullet Showering. Zwart Schwarmer is one of the best option cards for black, released in Double Diamond. However, there is a small caveat that it includes your Digimon as well, so be careful when you play this card. I originally had this at 4 copies, and with 4 Rebellimon and playing it, actually just murdered my own Rebellimon as well. That's why this card has been reduced by 1, and Rebellimon doesn't see as much use for me in general. Trump Sword has a caveat on its own, and in order to delete a Digimon, it has to be unsuspended. And while this deck plays amazingly well against most decks, if your opponent drops a level 7 Digimon, there's limited removal in purple and black that can take it out that's a 7-cost option card. Since Fly Bullet can only take out any Digimon that's unsuspended, with the caveat of it being level 6 or lower. Nailbone is the reason why my deck, in my opinion, is more tempo than control. My endgame is to use Nailbone for free with Beelstarmon's effect in order to play Ginkakumon Promotes and swing with it. If Ginkakumon Promote is deleted, and I have other Beelstarmons in hand, I can just do it again and again until I run out of Beelstars. Last but not least, Happy Bullet Showering at 3 copies. I underestimated how useful this card was. Some individuals may say it will only run 1, 2, or none at all. Many times now my opponent has gone into a level 7 Digimon and just left it exposed with nothing else on board. Suspended or not, Happy Bullet Showering can delete all Digimon with the lowest DP on the field. If there happens to be only 1 Digimon on the field, that's the lowest DP Digimon. There are a wide variety of option cards that you can play with Three Musketeers, and in this variant I go over the basics and maximizing my efficiency to play them. Finally, to round off this deck, I run 2 Izzy Izumi instead of Mat Ishida from BT2. While Mad Ishida has the capability of returning purple option cards or Beelstarmons back to hand, I prefer the easy Izumi route of checking what's on top to rearrange for the most optimal play. This concludes Three Musketeers in the Double Diamond format, and with it there are many strengths and weaknesses to go over. For strengths, this deck has many option cards to protect yourself and wipe your opponent's board. However, like purple, it does require some setup via the trash to effectively use Beelstarmon. For weaknesses, not drawing into your purple rookies early game can lead to handing your opponent a lot of memory. In this format where some decks can utilize memory effectively, this can spell disaster, especially if it's a red deck that can safely spend its time in the raise area and push up for a delicate planned win. Luckily, while Gazimon is a very powerful deck against Security Control and Three Musketeers, ultimately, it loses to itself. Black decks that use Craniumon will also be an issue, seeing as every one of your option cards delete. Because of this, Three Musketeers sometimes finds itself with a yellow color base as well for DP depletion. In addition, depending on how your deck was constructed, you may potentially deck yourself due to the amount of milling you do. What are elements of Three Musketeers you like, or don't like? Do you find it splashable in a lot of decks like Eosmon? Let me know in the comments below. This is Digi-Panda. Logging out.